There's no better feeling than a personal win, and the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you do just that. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Good morning, fellow weirdos. Kirk Henderson here with Pod Mavericks. I guess I need to rebrand my show here. I clicked the wrong link. This is Group Therapy from Pod Maverick. If you have never joined our show before, there is a link in the YouTube live. It is pinned and it goes to an app called StreamYard. If you've never used StreamYard, it is not that dissimilar from any sort of video app, which you've used Zoom, Google Meet, whatever, but it allows you to join our show directly. We got two folks already waiting. We're going to go to them quickly. We got my man Brian waiting. Brian looks angry, and I'm going to make him wait a little more because it'll do him justice. We got Mike Weisberg, who I have talked to before, but it's been a while, and I think Brian and I will talk for like 20 straight minutes, so I'm going to give Mike a chance first. If you want to hop on in here, go ahead and click in, and it will put you in a waiting room. We can talk a little bit of Mavericks basketball, and then we can get on with our lives, or we can just talk for like 6 straight hours like a bunch of weirdos. Mike, welcome to the show. What's going on?
I'm good, man. How are you?
You know.
Hey, I get it. Been there with preseason, not this preseason, but been there with preseason. It can be up and down. It's really for sickos. Like,
it is.
Getting mad over preseason games can be tough. But it's also, you're just like, I'm just a basketball fan. I just have to.
What I was actually mad at was that the game started at closer to 10 Central Time than 9:30. Like, that was disgusting. The NBA is ran by terrorists that need to be punished. Tell me it's a 10 o'clock start time if that's what's going on. And then there were like a lot of stoppages in play in the third quarter. And I'm like, guys, hurry up. I'm tired. And it just, whatever.
How are you, just broadly, taking this game out of it? How are you feeling generally? Like, I know this is Group Therapy live, so let's get the big picture stuff out of the way. How are you feeling about the Mavs right now? Like,
they're fine. I mean, the Mavericks have been, when Jason Kidd started coaching the team, I swear to God, the first 2 plays of him as the coach were of Dorian Finney-Smith getting post-ups. 2 post-ups. Dorian Finney-Smith had 1 post-up in the previous 4 years. We went and looked this up because it was so gross. Because Kidd was like, we're going to shoot more 2-point shots. He is a lying liar who lies. And the Dallas Mavericks ended up shooting a lot of 3-point shots, and the Mavericks were at least kind of weird fun. So I think that like this team has a chance to be very interesting. But I also think there's a lot of potential for like low grade drama. Like Clay being a big baby is a sort of thing that we're all kind of talking about and hoping won't happen. But if it does, I kind of think it will happen too. But it's like him being a baby and then the reaction to him being a baby is what I'm interested in, because I do think like different voices telling him, Clay, stop being a baby, that's where this gets really interesting.
Well, so here's the problem with someone who is as high profile as Clay is it starts getting into take culture stuff. And that just gets really messy. And that's not to say that the Mavericks aren't super high profile and already have 2 guys already who are, for lack of a better term, are going to end up fluctuating in a bunch of takes, whether it's Luka for the MVP discussion, Kyrie for better or worse, all kinds of discussion.
Just the whole spectrum.
The whole thing, all of it. And then you add in Clay, who, as I said in the comment, and appreciate you highlighting the comment, like Clay's going to have some amazing highs, and he's going to be awesome in the press at times, and Mavs fans are going to love him. But there are going to be days, kind of like today, and it's his consistency that's probably going to frustrate you guys more than anything else.
What? So repeat what you said about injuries and consistency, because that I think is worth hearing if you're on a podcast.
Okay, very simple. It is not the highs that you are robbed of when you are hurt, because you can always hit a high. The difference is your floor. Your floor is robbed by consistency more than anything else, by injury, I should say. And I think that's what's tough. Anyone who's dealt with them, like I personally haven't dealt with too many major injuries. I've had some like smaller major injuries, but nothing like an ACL tear. And like that's tough. Rehab's difficult. It took 2 years of his prime. Now, mind you, he was paid as a max player, but like it still sucks. It's not fun as a process. And then you see younger guys on your team start to take your spot, as you mentioned, Kirk. And like there's a mental part of this that I think people don't fully understand. He's already said it in the preseason at Media Day, where he's like, yeah, man, I had a really difficult 2 years. So we'll see on the Clay stuff. I think the more interesting conversation to me is the Lively conversation. So I think Derek's primed. Honestly, Kirk, like he's not quite a top 10 center yet, but this season he very well could be.
I love arguing about him, where I made a bunch of Thunder fans mad because I'm just like, I think his role, which is third best Mavericks player, paired with what he decides to do, which is primarily roll to the basket, dunk the ball, maybe make some short roll reads, play defense. I'm just really fascinated because I think there's going to be, I don't know, 1 to 2 plays a game where he does something on offense where it makes everyone go, well, what if he did that more often? And the answer is these Mavericks don't need him to do that. But the threat of him being like, I don't know, doing a dribble handoff or making like a high to low read or getting a short roll pass and being able to like, I don't know, last year was really fun when he would see guys cutting baseline and doing that sort of stuff. He's just going to be a fun player to project because I think that his skill set allows you to think that he could do a lot of different stuff, which I think he can, but that's not how teams are constructed. You want guys that fit into slots and do certain things and help you win in certain ways. And if the rules are going to allow him to like bludgeon people to death on defense, which, I mean, guys, like anybody that argues with this, look, I'm not complaining. It's great. Like I love the physicality in basketball, but if he gets within, like you get within 6 feet of the basket, he is like hitting you like you did something to him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does this year because I think like the fringe top 10 center discussion is going to be like weird because people are like, well, why does that matter? Well, it's because he's playing with one of the best pick and roll players of all time. And that's the point that matters.
It's to me, the most important thing Jason Kidd can do this year is figure out spacing in a way that maximizes Lively and Luka. You get those two in space, magic will happen. Period, point blank. Derek's not quite there yet on an IQ front. He will get there. I think there are times, as Chad has noted, where he presses a little bit, but that shit comes. Yeah. Like that is how this works. And like you add in the shooting of Clay, and you've got, PJ who can hit above the break threes or corner threes. Like they're gonna get there. It's just a matter of, I think, with Lively watching the progression this year and seeing how high of a high he can hit. Because if that's the difference between winning 50 games and winning 55 games.
Yep.
Ultimately. Like Luka's going to Luka, Kyrie's going to Kyrie, assuming health.
Yeah.
But you get the Lively stuff in there. Whoo.
He does fun stuff. He does weird, fun stuff. I can't wait to see what he does. And the minutes element, like if he plays like 32 minutes as opposed to like 21 or 22, whatever it was last season, like it's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Is the Gafford split going to be even, or do we think it's going to be like 25-15?
I think it'll probably be pretty even, but I also think Lively kind of plays with a recklessness that results in him getting nicked up quite a bit. I mean, he only played 55 games last year. I think that's right. Maybe it was lower than 50 or lower than 55, but it was the sort of thing where he was getting like weird freak injuries, and I don't think that will discontinue. Like he is gonna continue to like, he's gonna do something where he like hurts his shoulder on the like the lower front, the bottom of the backboard. Like he's gonna like try to like block somebody's shot. He's gonna hit that soft padded point, like miss 4 games, or he's gonna hit the bottom of the rim with his head. Like there's just gonna be like weird stuff. That's just young player basketball. I mean, watching his evolution has been truly baffling, because I think if our man Victor Wembanyama didn't exist to the south, there'd be a lot more Derek Lively center discussion.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you have both Chet and Wemby, so like those two kind of combine for, I think NBA fans have a range of how we perceive discussion, I think. And Lively, for I think the average fan, is just outside of that young center discussion for them.
Yep.
Just because they don't have like the bandwidth take wise to consider it. When the reality is going to be Lively is going to come in there like a freight train and be a large part of the conversation. Now, it may take 20 games to get there for that to be like a part of the broader mainstream convo. But I think Mavs fans should feel really good about that part of it.
Yeah.
Because, the one thing I've seen, I dabble here and there in Mavs Twitter. Brian rarely sees me in chat. And it's like, I think at times Mavs Twitter can get a little bit too into itself. And just a couple quick things before I get out of here, because I want to take up too much more time. The Dinwiddie point is 100% dead on. Does not need to be on this team. Get him out of there as quickly as possible. And then I guess the other, big picture thought that I have is, how are you feeling about Najee? Just as like a general proposition right now.
One of the things I loved how much the fan base that he left seemed to be sad that he was going. So many times when a guy leaves, you're like, all right, good riddance. See you in the next life, sort of thing. And then you like learn to appreciate him later. I've gotten so many tweets and messages from Pelicans fans being like, you're going to love this guy. He brings a little bit of oomph. People aren't going to mess with Luka, which, that won't happen. But I'm very bullish on that experience. I'm a little skeptical on some of the shooting numbers, but I also what's that? It's the Pat Robertson meme. It's like, I've seen Jesus. I've seen what you've done for others. Now what can you do for me? Only it's Luka Doncic and open 3-point shots. And like, there's just going to be those chances. And so if Derek Jones Jr., who was one of the more frightening 3-point shooters in the league, can get a 3-year, $30 million deal off of Luka, what can Najee do? Who, I mean, obviously very different kind of player, but he's been very fun to watch early on. And I look forward to seeing what Jason Kidd will attempt in the lineups.
Yeah. So like, I think the defensive spacing to me is far more interesting than the offensive spacing. Like I'm not worried about Najee offensively. I know that's a concern for some people in the Mavs world, but like, I think the way that Jason Kidd manages the defensive spacing and how to manage, a 5-man lineup of like, let's call it Lively. All right, let's go Lively, Najee, Clay, Kyrie, Luka.
Sure.
And how he manages that defensive spacing ultimately is going to determine how the season goes. Because Najee defensively in space is awesome. I think he's a better defender than what you previously had. And like, can he make up for all of the defensive issues? No. Clay is going to be, as someone who's watched a lot of Clay defensively, they're going to be nice when he's going to struggle. You put him up against more athletic wings, it's going to be a tough watch. But I think Najee can cover for some of those, and Lively's going to cover for some of them too. But I'm just intrigued to see how Kidd manages in between those Najee defensive lines. The offensive stuff he'll figure out, particularly playing with Luka and Kyrie.
I agree with that. Mike, thanks so much for joining. Brian is itching down there with his piano in the background. He's very excited.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you joining us. Okay, coming up next is Brian. Brian, what's going on tonight, my man? Thanks so much for waiting, and thanks for being second.
Nah, dude, it's cool. I don't mind waiting for Mike. That's my guy. Yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like if I'm to respond to one question that Mike asked as far as like what our general feel is for the Mavericks right now, I'm feeling pretty good. Even after that game, like I know as someone who's watched a lot of Klay Thompson, they won't look like that. But Klay is going to have nights where he's inefficient, where he's instead of over 9, he's 3 for 10, 4 for 10, and it doesn't look great if you're just looking at the shooting numbers. But I think that the defense is going to hold up just fine as long as we keep him contained on bigger threes and on some fours, and keep him kind of in that space every now and then. Maybe he'll switch and he's funneling to the big or whatever. But I'm not worried about Klay at all. I'm not worried about Najee really at all, because I think that once we see both of them within the context of playing around one or both of those primary creators in Luka and Kai, things are going to look completely. Najee was doing a lot of primary initiator stuff that he is never going to do in game for us.
Yep.
And that's when you saw a lot of the turnovers and the funky looking shot attempts and the getting downhill and not really knowing exactly what to do with the ball. When he's attacking a bent defense or attacking from the corner, it's going to look better. It's going to look closer to what the fans saw in New Orleans than what we saw the last few games.
So you're with me on the Spencer frustration, but I think my particular Spencer frustration comes with the fact that this was a late night game. I wonder if I would even give a shit if this game started at 7:30 instead of 9:30.
You know what? I don't know. I've kind of been here since the first game. Like I was in the summer. I was with Josh. I was like, hey man, we should really get Dennis in here because Spencer's cool. But if we're building around a defensive identity, which is what has gotten this team to the conference finals and beyond the 2 times we've been,
that's right.
You would think that you'd want to get someone who can defend point of attack, who can defend some bigger guards, who can run the offense, whether there's another point guard on the floor or not, even if the shot is shaky. The shot selection and just the ability as an initiator is there with Dennis in a way that I'm not sure it is with Spencer. And I mean, as we've seen, it's not gone great. Dennis is still sitting at home, man. Spencer, brother, we might just have to call it good and to see in the next life. It's really getting to that point.
We're never going to do it, but it's so annoying where it's like you almost get spoiled. And we had a really lengthy, long piece up at Mavs Moneyball today. Let me make sure I get the title right, even though I'm pretty sure it's called Nico Harrison and the Tipping Point. And my guy Michael, one of our new writers, he's overseas, put together a lengthy history of essentially the 2017 season, so Dennis Smith's rookie season, to now, and sort of how we got here and the mistakes and wins along the way. And Nico Harrison just really hasn't made that many missteps. I mean, if you were to consider the Christian Wood trade a misstep, I think you do it in the sense of understanding that he was shedding 4 horrendous Donnie Nelson contracts. It had so much more to do with those contracts than it did to do with like Christian Wood being a useful basketball player. Like that was a gamble. And then they let Jason Kidd have JaVale McGee. That was the JaVale McGee signing is one of those that's going to like, where you're just going to need to look at him and be like, Jason, JaVale McGee, that's what you wanted. But other than that, like the JaVale McGee signing is really the only blemish on his time, because Omax was a great gamble. Whether or not Omax works out or not, he's a great gamble for 24 and for what we gave up to get him. And even this one, it's the sort of thing where you're looking at what these guys are doing, and I just the Spencer shouldn't matter. He shouldn't matter, and maybe he won't, and that's. I just need to get to the regular season at this point. We got one more stupid preseason game, and we'll see.
Yeah, it's honestly the only reason it is even a conversation right now is Dante messed up his wrist and is out for 3 months. If Dante was going to play before 2025, this would not be a discussion at all. That's the only reason we're having it. Yeah. And think about that. We're having a discussion about this because Dante Exum got hurt, right? Like that lets you know how like insignificant to like the plan as a whole, Spencer was. So I honestly, I would use that as an argument for why it shouldn't take too much to let him go. But you know how front offices are, and you know how Nico and Kid are, especially with their players, and trying to keep like a certain reputation amongst players and agents. So I get that, and I understand that if Spencer is shipped out, it won't be anytime soon, and that's okay. I think we have enough with what we have. We could have more, but we have enough. All right, Luka and Kyrie, they're gonna monopolize the ball in whatever lineup that we're gonna have out for at least 45 minutes a game.
Yeah,
40 minutes a game, and that leaves 8 to 5 minutes a game where it's just gonna be like, okay, Jaden, can you not kill us here? Spencer, can you not kill us here? Right?
And it's so funny. I'm about to be inadvertently mean about Hardy, even though I want to preface this by saying I'm very impressed by what he's done this year.
Oh, yeah.
Hardy just doesn't know what he can't do, or he doesn't care. And so he goes out there and he takes these shots and he makes these drives, like, in spite of all the odds. Like, some of the things he does, it's like he made like a reverse layup tonight that everyone was oohing and eyeing over, and it's because he probably shouldn't have driven the ball to begin with. Like, he doesn't have a first step. He doesn't have handles. Like, him dribbling is an adventure. And yet, you look at his box scores, and it's like,
he did the job.
Like not to be, I don't like this football comparison won't make any sense, but if you play fantasy football, he's like James Connery, where it's like, you look up and he's like, 20 carries and 60 yards. And you're like, well, that sucks. And it's like, but I needed those 60 yards, man. And that's the sort of, it's like the little around the edges stuff that Hardy does, where he's just going to swing games this year in a way that's going to baffle opposing teams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, he the dribbling is still very much an adventure, like you said.
It's really bad. Like, how do him and PJ Washington work with God Sham God and still look like my son?
Honest to God, I thought PJ in the first half, I thought his handle looked really good. It looked really tight. And then in the second half, we were right back to him dribbling like Andrew Wiggins. I was like, wow, man, that's so funny. but because in the first half, he had, especially in transition, he had, times where the handle looked good. He was shifty. He was accelerating the way he needed to. He was getting into the lane and not getting the ball stripped at moments where last year he definitely would have gotten the ball stripped.
The pass to Lively was so sick.
If only he could have made the other one where,
yeah.
Did you see where he got the steal? Harden was the only transition defender back for the Clippers. It was him running on the left side, Lively running on the right. PJ was leaned over like Stanley from The Office with the ball and looked up at the last second as Harden stripped the ball. And I'm like, brother, if you look up a half second earlier, there's a lob for Lively right there. But, yeah. But overall, I loved what I saw from PJ. His defensive rebounding is so important.
Yes.
For what we want to do, and I miss that so much. I'm glad he's back.
Well, we're going to get Luka back out there, and his big old butt is going to consume so many boards because he's just he's a wide body, and guys don't want to bang into him. So he gets boards in a lot of respect because teams give up. And they're like, nope, we're just going to let him get this because if we miss, he's going to roast us.
He's a wide body, and he likes to go up at high point rebounds for some reason. It's the only time Luka enjoys jumping in the game.
Do you remember his rookie year? One of my earliest really viral tweets was of what was a vine of DeAndre Jordan.
Oh yeah,
like destroying Luka Doncic,
throwing him out of bounds,
high point aboard, and Luka turning and looking at him, being like, "What the fuck, man?" And like that, it was like game 4, and I was like, "Oh yeah, DeAndre is not here for long."
Yeah, dude. Every time I think of DeAndre Jordan, I think of that dude. He booty bumped that dude 5 feet out of bounds to get a defensive board that was coming to him anyway. I was like, "What are you?"
Jordan and Drummond are two of the biggest, like, just rebound padding doofs of the last 30 years. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
Sorry to derail. You were making an actual good point, but I was just thinking. I think you're right about PJ Washington's rebounding. I mean, this Mavericks team, by the way that they're built, should control the glass, and that's going to be, I think, really important to how they play this year.
Yeah, man, his rebounding, his defense, the shot. So we actually saw the shot for the first time since last year. It looks more compact. The release looks a little lower, which kind of worries me. But the shot is quicker than it was. It's not as pretty as what it was last year, but we didn't see any of those he needs glasses misses, which I'll take that victory.
Look, man, I need to walk back almost every single one of my like shooting related criticisms as I work with my young man on like shooting the ball. Like some of the weird things that happen depending on which side of the rim that you're on. Like there's some things your brain does, and like I just never shot the ball. Like I was like a putback guy and passed the ball out. Like shooting anything from beyond 10 feet got my ass yanked from the game. Shout out Coach Chastain. But I get it, and I'm hopeful that he gets the opportunities, and I really think he will because he's got to be the guy that teams leave alone. Like there's just no other option.
It's going to be him with Lively's role gravity, with Clay in the corner, Kyrie on the wing, Luke with the ball. PJ's the only option if you're going to help off somebody, and he is going to get a lot of looks, and I think he's going to kill from the corner this year as a shooter and as a driver. And yeah, that excites me. The Hardy steps really excite me because, like, while the dribbling is an adventure, that dude's shot is incredible. He even had the little funky mid-range turnaround stopping pops going early in the game. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's feeling really good. If he's getting that bull fall, then I know he's having a good game. And one of my favorite things about Hardy, and I tweeted this earlier, his playmaking is up and down. But one thing you're never going to have to ask is, okay, does he see the big when he's operating out of the pick and roll? And is he going to throw the lob if it's there? Because now that he has two bigs that can catch everything, he's going to throw anything at the rim. Like the one from a couple games ago that Josh was laughing at, where Gafford destroyed A.J. Boston. because Hardy threw the lob like 15 feet in the air, and A.J. didn't know who it was for. Like, Hardy lobs are one of my favorite things to watch for now. And you can tell he loves throwing them. Like, he just loves.
He's got a lot better at them.
Yeah, they look a lot better than they used to. And they really started to pop even in I'd say, the Minnesota series was when he really started getting burned last year in the playoffs. And he threw a couple of those and really got the energy up and, got guys energized on the bench. So I'm excited for him this season. Quentin Grimes. Look, man, I tried to told y'all. That Josh Green comp stuff, that's not happening. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. I love Josh Green to death. Josh Green can't lace Quentin Grimes' shoes, dude. And I said that when he was playing in New York.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Man, thanks for hanging out late with us. It's 1 a.m. where we are. We're crazy people, but we got Mr. Green down there in the other side of the world. So we're gonna punt over to him. You got anything else before we go?
I'm excited for the team to play. Man, it'd be nice if Luke and Kyrie want to play basketball, so I don't have to watch these dudes pretend they can dribble.
I know.
For 2 hours.
I mean, I was feeling a little salty during the game, and just watching Kyrie from the bench with his hat and with his just step aunt who sells crystals vibe going on that he's just got going. I need to see him play basketball. That's what I need.
Yeah, I was like, dude, everybody else is playing like actual basketball. It'd be nice if we could play actual basketball. And it almost looks like basketball without us stars, which is something we have not.
For like 10 minutes. For like 10 minutes, it's pretty good. And then the other team's like, oh, that's the only guy who can dribble. Let's go get him.
There we go.
So, all right, Brian. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, dude. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Green, welcome to the show once again. What's going on?
How are you, Kirk?
I'm a little tired. It's about 1 a.m, but that's all right.
I thought you said you weren't doing one of these. You're just a madman, aren't you?
I was real mad at Spencer Dinwiddie. So why not be?
Sorry, mate. What about the fact that we got a bit of play in Clay tonight?
It's pretty. He is 3 of his last 30 shot attempts.
Oh, man. Clay in Clay. I hope he's not rocking up for the whole season. I really am hoping he's not rocking up for the whole season. But, you get... So it was interesting watching tonight because, the team is like missing 40% of the players that will be on the floor at any one time. So you're watching... I must admit, I like what Najee does. I'm not saying he had a good game. I'm not saying he's had a good game for us yet, but I like what he does. But man, isn't Grimes twitchy when he gets that ball in the triple threat position? Like, he had me guessing a few times, and he's nothing like Josh Green, man. He's got some killer in him, and Josh was a bit soft. I'm looking forward to seeing Grimes come in and play with some decent players.
I think that's right. Like, if he's your fifth option. Sorry, we're getting some slow.
Just a little bit. Some slowness.
No, there's we're experiencing some latency despite the fact that we're across the planet from one another. So I really don't want to complain about it, but it's dragging a little bit, but that's okay. But yes, I think Najee Marshall is going to be the fan favorite this year.
Yeah, I like his activity. I like the fact that these guys don't seem scared. Like putting the ball, attacking closeouts from a drive and kick. I think we're going to be dangerous this year. It looks a lot better than it did when Derek Jones Jr. was doing that for us last year. Like the Najee Grimes thing looks like it'll be a bit more effective. But it's preseason, Kirk, as you know. It's hopes and dreams and playing Clay, and as you said, Kyrie on the bench and Lucas smiling and clapping, and PJ was supposed to have worked on his handle and he got stripped a good 2 or 3 times. But he did a couple of good things tonight. Hey, at least I'm not watching THJ dribble it off his fucking foot on the third bounce, mate. So I'm relatively happy about that.
I think that's the proper way. Mr. Green, I think that's actually the ideal way to close the show, because I'm a big THJ guy, but I also there's just an understated fact. I appreciate the fact that I don't have to see him anymore.
Yeah. The second dribble, mate. The first dribble was fine. That was a rhythm dribble. The second dribble was 50-50 going off his foot out of bounds. But thanks for staying up late, Kirk.
Absolutely, man. Talk to you next game, maybe.
You enjoy yourself.
All right, have a good one. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody hanging out and being weird. I don't know how we got an hour's worth of content off of a preseason game, but that's what we're here for. Check out MavsMoneyball.com. We'll probably have some things up the next few days. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a slowdown in Mavs Moneyball until the regular season, because I've been really asking our staff to do a whole bunch as of late. But it's 82 games, 82 recaps, 82 previews, 82 post-game numbers. We're probably going to start a new grading series that one of our guys, Michael, wants to continue. So there's just a lot going on. And I'm not going to beat the content doors down. But if you're a Cowboys fan who's checking out the Mavericks a little bit early, this is the right time to get in on us. Thank you so much for hanging out, folks in the chat. We will talk soon. Everybody have a great rest of your week, and go Mavs.